Good day everyone, my name is Educ Masion, and this video is all about my learnings and understanding about the topics in the course, the teachers, and the school curriculum. There are a lot of topics, but I will just point 3 only.
Now let's move on to the first topic, Curriculum Foundation Philosophical Sources. Philosophical sources include the 5 major philosophies in education, and these are perennialism, idealism, realism, experimentalism or pragmatism, and existentialism. Other philosophies of education include progressivism and social reconstructionism. Perennialism is the usual form of education in many years, where the teachers often discuss great works from the past. For example, Thomas Edison inventions, Charles Darwin discoveries, or William Shakespeare's writings. Perennialists believe that learners will learn more from the works in the past, which I actually believe that it is a great way to learn. And my point is that learning from the great works in the past can be useful knowledge for us in order to create a new concept. Another example is the invention of the Wright brothers. They are the one who first made an airplane back in December 17, 1903. Imagine, they only flew for 59 seconds. The first and second were 12 seconds. Then 15 seconds on the third. And the final long flight lasted 59 seconds. From 59 seconds, a whole new ideas, new concepts, and knowledge has been created through the minds of other inventors. And now, that 59 seconds is the reason why we have better airplanes that can travel through the world. Idealism focuses on the mind, where the ideas and all the thinking happens. Idealists are also careful on decisions. They are critical thinker, where they think first before to act. Idealist teachers teach students in choosing important material and encourage students to ask questions. Realism is the view that a reality of material objects and possibly of abstract concepts exists in an external world independently of our minds and perceptions. The idealist focuses on the mind, while the realist focuses on the body, where you can touch, feel, observe, and all. Realism says that what all exists needs to be explored. Basically, everything that exists is the reality, and everything that exists needs to be explored. The teacher in realism teach students about the world around them and help students to understand their reality. From what I understand of experimentalism or pragmatism, in this philosophy, the main focus is the change. We all know that change is inevitable, that either we like it or not, we have to accept change, understand it, and learn from it. In education, our way of learning as of now is different from the usual. Now, we rely on gadgets, internet, and data. If we did not accept the change and refuse of it, of course, the learning will be stopped. That's why, in this new way of learning, learners and educators need to understand, accept, and adapt the change that is happening. And that is what I understand from experimentalism or pragmatism. Existentialism in education is a student-centered. Students make their choice on what they want to be. For example, if they want to be a lawyer, then that's their choice. Let it be. Because they can learn more if they are learning what they want to learn. Another example is studying. If a student doesn't want to study, then that's their choice. Because on existentialism, it depends on natural decision that makes a learner learn more. Progressivism is a student-centered, and the teacher serves as facilitator. Progressivism in education, students will learn by doing themselves. Activities and group activities are an example of progressivism. It teaches the learners to do themselves, and it helps the students to use their minds and think. Social reconstructionism is a philosophy that addresses social questions. It is a philosophy that teaches learners how to improve the society we live in. It topics all the real problems that is really happening in our society.
Can you relate on those philosophical sources? Well, I can relate because a lot of my teachers back then has these kinds of characteristics. For example, perennialism.
I remember those times where the teacher topics the great works in the past. Like in science, teachers in science topics the scientists in the past and the remarkable works and discoveries. Or, have you remembered Rizal works? Like Nole Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo? Those are some popular topics in our Filipino subjects, right? Many of the philosophical sources is relatable, and they are a good source in teaching. We can apply them in the future if we are going to proceed in teaching. And most likely, learners will learn more if we are using these kinds of sources. Architectonics of curriculum.
Architectonics of content. From what I understand, architectonic of content is the one who's responsible for organizing the content into orderly categorized for the reason of encouraging learning. This is important in order to have a proper content in curriculum and to have an effective learning to the learners.
There are criteria for selecting effective content for curriculum, and these are significance, validity, relevance, utility, learnability, and interest. Significance. How essential it is to the subject. It is important that there is significance in the content for curriculum because the subjects in the curriculum should be essential in order to have an effective learning. Otherwise, if it is not essential, the learning would probably be poor. Validity. How accurate or true it is. Of course, the subjects or topics must be accurate, based on true facts, information, and data. Because learner must learn the truth and not false information. Relevance. Whether it is worthwhile to society. Subjects like science, math, and English are examples of a relevant subjects. These are important in education in order to have a better society in the future. Utility. How useful the content is to adult functioning. This is also one of the important because it deals to how the learner will apply what they've learned. Learnability. Whether the student can acquire the content. Of course, the age of the learner does matter in the content of learning. For example, a 10-year-old learner learning a physics or chemistry. Of course, it is impossible for the learner to learn, because the level of learning of the 10-year-old student is not yet capable of learning physics and chemistry, and that is why learnability is important. Interest, whether it has intrinsic interest to learners. In the field of learning, interest is important. Why? Because if the learner is interested on the topics, lectures, etc., the learner will much more pay attention to the topic, and it will give a greater chance that the learner will acquire more information. There are two most important principles of the architectonics of content. First, scope of curriculum content. Second, sequence of curriculum content. Scope of curriculum content refers to the breadth and depth of content to be studied at any one time. What I understand in the scope of curriculum content is that how the content will be organized for the period of time, and thus the content covered the whole period of time. Let's say, first semester in physics. Scope of curriculum content gives the what topics needs to be dealt with in first semester in physics. It also helps to determine either the topics can cover the whole first semester. Sequence of curriculum content is defined as the order in which content is presented to learners over time. From what I understand, it broken down the content into pieces in order to manage the topics that needs to be dealt with.
Curriculum change and implementation.
Curriculum change. Yes, change is inevitable. In the field of education, there is no excuse. Change is needed. Why? It is because if the education is stagnant, no movement, and there are no changes, then the learning is stagnant as well. It stays the same and no improvement. Take note that our world is moving forward. Everything is improving, upgrading, and developing. Technologies, for example, is widely upgrading. And because technology upgrades, society improves. And we have much more easy life than before. That is why change in education is highly important. It will make our society in the next generation much more better. Curriculum implementation. It is good to know that there are laws regarding implementing new curriculum, like K-12 system, that was signed into law with the passage of Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, Republic Act 1053-3. This is important matters so that our society will improve. Better curriculum, better education, better learnings for our better society in the future.
I chose the topic curriculum change and implementation to be the last topic because I want to talk about the education system that we have right now. It has changed, right?
Before, we go to school, meet our teacher, sit in our chairs, and listen to the discussions. But now, everything has changed. Now, we rely on gadgets, internet, and good signal. However, the problem is that not all student has gadgets. Not all student has money for the internet. Not all area has a good signal. Nevertheless, we need to accept it. We need to understand and adapt the change that is happening. Because someday, the efforts, the patience are worth it.